Welcome back to Raising Real Estate Standards. I am here today with Doug Fincannon of the C12 Group. And we're going to talk about, we always talk about our businesses, but we want to talk about how to make your business better today. And we're going to be focused on strategic operating systems. But before we get started, Doug, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Brian. It's a delight to be here. I have a chance to work with businesses across a whole set of industries of all different sizes and makes, and it's just my joy to help them build great businesses, and we do it for a greater purpose. I've seen large companies and small companies. Sometimes the small companies are doing these things so well and much better, so size is not the issue. It's its commitment and execution. So I'm excited to talk about this.
Yeah, so Doug is one of my mentors through the C12 Group, and he's the one that introduced me to strategic operating systems. One of the ones I use is the EOS system for our business. But these are operating systems not just for large businesses, which they can be, but they can be for small businesses as well. Like you guys out there, you're running your own business, you're self-employed, you can use this. But Doug, tell us, how would a self-employed business person utilize a strategic operating system?
Yeah, so first of all, everybody's going to have, in my opinion, a vision. Where do I want to be in the future? And how do I define what that looks like? I can have just a very loose concept, just kind of like doing well. But if you really want to nail it and achieve, you've got to define it, not complex, but simple, but have it in a defined form so that you can determine, am I headed in the right direction? And really, you just have to take time to do it. Allocate and dedicate time to be committed to developing that mission and vision, that ideal state, and then commit yourself to working towards it. Doesn't matter if you're large or small, having it defined and working towards it is the key.
So it's like your roadmap, pretty much. Tells you, like, this is what we're going to be doing. These are the goals we're going to set. This is this is how we're going to get there, basically. So what are some of the types of strategic operating systems that are out there?
Yeah, there's a number of them, and they all have their strengths and weaknesses. It's really important that you go and investigate them to see which one is the best fit for you. You have On Strategy, Scaling Up, EOS. Our organization, C12, has its own business as a ministry framework that we use to help plan strategically and execute strategically. Business Model Generator is another one. But basically, all of these are going to take a concept, a set of concepts and practices to help you define, clarify what's your mission, who are you going to serve, what's your purpose, and then what's our vision? What's it going to look like if we do this really well 1, 2, 3, 5 years down the road? Don't think complex. If it's complex, you're probably not going to use it. So many people will put together a mission, vision statement, a strategic plan, put it in a big book, set it on the shelf, and then it just collects dust. So you need something that's practical, relevant, something that you're checking in with, I believe, on a weekly basis, not hours on a week, but it needs to be something discussed. So if you're a solopreneur, you're the only owner of the business, you still need to be connecting with it, thinking about it. Certainly, as you get more complex with more moving parts, more processes and systems, more people, you have to even be spending more time and energy in it, dedicated to looking at it. But find the system that you like, one that's going to be relevant and meaningful to you, that you engage with. If you have a team, they engage with, and enjoy it. Let it drive. Let it give you a sense. Are we getting there? Are we making progress? Are we headed in the right direction? Are we going down a rabbit trail? Or are we off our purpose and vision and need to get back on?
Yeah, so when I started with EOS and I started looking into these operating systems, I immediately thought big, clunky, electronic versions of like systems that drove things. When in actuality, you're talking about like a 1-page or 2-page set of goals and where we're going to go. That's really the basis of this. Let's break this down for the audience, Doug. When we're talking about a strategic operating system, what exactly are we talking about? Let's go through that one pager that we're going to have after we've completed it.
Yeah, so I think at the core of what you have to do is you have to understand what's our mission. Who are we passionately in love with, trying to meet their needs, understanding who they are, who am I committed to going and engaging with and delivering a product or service to them that gives me the right to win in the marketplace. So I know who my customer is. I totally understand what their needs are and how I can serve. And then the system is designed to help me think, do I have all the processes and services in place to meet those needs of the customer that I'm passionately committed to helping? Mm-hmm. So again, not complex. I love 1 or 2 pages. If it's more than that, be careful. It should be a system that's also going to drive discussion, probably going to bring about conflict because you have competing ideas, different ways of doing things, but that's okay. Great to have the conflict on the table and talking about, is this the right way to do it? Is this system really performing well? It should also define metrics. Mm-hmm. It should be giving you a sense of, am I green, yellow, and red across the organization financially, who your customer is and how are they doing? Operationally, are we green, yellow, or red? Organizationally, do I have the right people? Is this the right culture for trying to deliver the product and service to the people that we've identified that we want to serve well? Mm-hmm. And so are we making an impact? You'll see that in many different ways, but you should have a system that's going to help you think and identify.
Gotcha. So let's look at an example for just a standalone real estate agent in the business. So you'd have mission and vision, where you're going with your business, where you want to go with your business, and who you're out there, who your customer is, basically. And then you've got your, let's call it, longer term goals, say 5-year, 5, 10, 3, 5, 10, something like that. And then you've got your more shorter term goals, which your shorter term goals, let's call it 1 year, should meet up with your longer term goals. And then within the shorter term goals, you're going to have, and I'm just going to use what we use in EOS, the rocks. These are the things quarterly that you're going to do to get you to these annual goals that you've already set for yourself. So for an example, if your goal is to close 50 transactions this year, well, you're going to have to generate that amount of business. But in order to generate that amount of business, you're going to have so many amount of contacts, either so many amount of leads coming in. So you've got to be able to track that on that basis. What are some other KPI? How do KPIs work into the system, Doug?
Yeah, once you've gone through this process of defining your ideal state, and now you've broken it down into smaller annual goals with quarterly goals, then you're just trying to monitor, first of all, what's the health of the organization? Am I growing? You can do it financially. You can do it in your operations. Am I making the number of contacts that I need to? Am I actually closing the amount that I need to make my annual objective of 50 closings, for example, if that's what I'm trying to do? Doing that by quarter, you can start to see, am I really going to get closer to hitting that 50 or not? And it should be, well, why not? If I see that I'm falling behind, it just leads to the question, why? Mm-hmm. Is there a system that we're not doing well that's frustrating our customers and it's not leading to closings? Or maybe it's because I'm not doing the hard work up front in recruiting. But it's going to help you identify, what do we need to focus on? What's the questions? Also, I would say, are my systems working well? Mm-hmm. Is not only process, but have I developed systems? Maybe I need to go and invest some time and money in building a system that is better. Maybe it's my contact management. Maybe it is my marketing is flawed. Maybe I'm not actually willing to, I haven't been making the calls, and it's going to remind me, oh, I got to do the hard work, or I'm going to fall behind. I'm not going to make that objective. It just has the ability of bringing daylight on how you're doing.
It's like personal accountability.
Yep.
It's sitting there for you. So it would probably be a good system to have if you're working with a coach, because I know a lot of us can have our own personal accountability, but sometimes discipline tends to wane a little bit. So if you have a coach, it'd probably just be a really good addition to that relationship there. All right, so I'm a real estate agent. I don't track any of this stuff. I'm hearing this and I'm like, man, I could really make my business better. How do I start? Where do I go? Where do I start with this? How do I find more information about these strategic operating systems? And then how much does it cost me? Because at the end of the day, real estate agents really are focused on the expense when it comes to this in their business.
Yeah, so there's actually good news there. Accessing the systems themselves, even the software that's going to support it, it's not a huge investment. So whether you're using something like Traction or scaling up, you can go and buy the books. You can go to the YouTubes. You have right at your ready fingertip there to get information on that. The books themselves, you might spend $50 on the books, and you can start looking and investigating it that way. If there's going to be any real expense, it's going to be as if you actually bring in a specialty coach that's going to help you implement it if you have a little bit more complex situation. Probably what you need to do, though, is have somebody who's going to hold you accountable for doing it. One thing to go and read the book, fall in love with the system, and then the biggest problem I find is the whirlwind, the phone calls, the emails. Oh, the closing has been delayed because the inspection didn't get there's an issue with the mortgage. So you start dealing with the whirlwind, and you're not dedicating the time to think about the future because the immediate today, this week, is just demanding so much. And so you've got to be really focused on setting your calendar on implementing it, using it, and reflecting on it. Part of that's going to be at the very beginning. You just got to go and set aside time to do research on it. Mm-hmm. Which do you like? What do you find easy? And but it's reading a book, doing a YouTube. Yeah. It's out there and very accessible.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. We've got some of these books right here. When I was introduced to it by you, Doug, I was like, all right, so there's a handful of them. Let me just get all the books. Let me see which one fits. Now I know that sounds daunting. I like to read, but anybody out there in this world is like, I got to read 5 books to get there. You can go on YouTube. You can research this stuff. There's a lot of people who have done this stuff that have already kind of done the research for you. So just go out on Google and check that stuff out. But Doug, is there any last kind of thing that you want to leave for people about the strategic operating system and why it's so important to involve this in their business?
Yeah. You've got to control your whirlwind, mm-hmm. and you have to be able to define what success looks like in the future. And once you define that, you have to have something that's going to measure and help you gain traction towards that ideal state down the road that you want to work to. And so the system to me is critical in doing that, being committed to doing it. Again, I'll say it, your greatest enemy to a strategic plan is the whirlwind. Mm-hmm. Just the demands that you have on, so you have to be disciplined enough to spend calendar time to think and assess. But I think what you find is that you'll get a rhythm, you'll get better. It's a skill, it's like a muscle. You got to go and exercise it, you'll get better. Probably having somebody else to talk to who's doing a similar system. So there's a lot of community around these systems that you can go and get information on. You need accountability, though, because the whirlwind is so strong it's going to pull you away. But I think if you commit yourself to doing a simple strategic plan, you're going to find benefit to it in the long run. I think your customers are going to find benefit from it. Because if I'm trying to serve in your world, as I understand it, somebody trying to buy a $2 million home or sell a $2 million home versus selling a $150,000 home, there are some of the same transactions and processes that are going to be at play, but there's a lot of differences in those scenarios. And so can I be all things to all people? Maybe. But likely, if I'm going to focus on smaller homes, I got to have different systems and processes in place than if I'm doing a $1 million or $2 million home. And defining what success looks like in that is going to be really important.
Yeah, so true, so true. Doug, thank you. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for talking to our audience about some of this stuff, the strategic operating system. Thank you for all you do. I appreciate you very much. So thank you. Guys, you've heard us talk about this so many times. Taking action, tracking your work, doing all that. This is the stuff that's going to make your business better. And this is a tool that you'll be able to implement in your business to get there. So if you have any questions on this, let us know. I've got the books. I've got links to the books that we can send out. Anything you need from that standpoint, let us know. But until next time, we'll talk to you.